Hey everybody, welcome to the second part of the self-leadership series. I'm going to cover those two additional strategies that were uncovered by Charles Manz and all of his other fellow researchers in the area of self-leadership over the last 40 years. And this is very powerful. So I'm going to start off with the other two, which is natural reward strategies as well as constructive processes. So let's dive in. There was a time when I was actually studying for my university examinations where we had a study group in the university. So at that table, I noticed one of my friends actually bringing a whole bunch of glitter glue, confetti, different kinds of stickers that had nothing to do with the subject that we are studying. What was interesting was she would literally just spend time pasting these stickers and utilizing this glitter on her notes. And I was wondering what that would do for her because I just did whatever it is that I needed in order to get my studies done. And she said it made it a little bit more enjoyable, putting that special unicorn sticker on the top right-hand corner of your notes. And I realized this as a natural reward strategy. In other words, she's just trying to make the tedious process of studying a little bit more engaging for her by having mini distractions that can draw her attention back to the notes ironically. And this is not uncommon. Whatever it is that you need to do that is tedious, doesn't it feel better for you to be running down a natural mountain trail rather than running tens of cycles around a track? It does feel different, doesn't it? At the same time, shifting the environment around your house actually could make a difference. Instead of doing your work in the study, you can head out to the living room and that does shift your focus a little bit, doesn't it? In addition, you can also shift your cognitive focus rather than just the environmental focus, such as imagining yourself in an environment which is peaceful or shifting your focus on something that's enjoyable about the task rather than the things that you dislike about it. So these strategies seem to be quite natural, and fortunately for us, we tend to already gravitate towards them. But there's one thing about shifting your cognitive focus that makes a very big difference, which is related to the third category called the constructive thought strategy. So what does this entail? Let's dive into a few of these approaches that have worked for me tremendously well. Number one, identifying and eliminating dysfunctional beliefs. Whenever we sit down and try to do something as entrepreneurs or as professionals, we end up sometimes encountering a mental roadblock towards our direction. And whenever you sit down and question yourself, you might have a lot of internal dysfunctional beliefs, such as the belief that you're not good enough or that you will never be able to accomplish it. However, there's been quite a fair bit of research, especially by rational emotive therapist Albert Ellis, on the idea of dysfunction beliefs. Whenever you start thinking about something negative, we know that those are not rational. As a result, you want to build up a more rational base that allows you to think about whatever you are trying to do as something that's possible to do rather than impossible to do. Most of the time, our irrationality gets the better of us, and as a result, it spirals into a negative, vicious cycle of negativity, causing us to not even want to set goals nor take the first step in the first place. So how do we build rational beliefs? You need to learn how to tell yourself the truth. Yes, are you not good enough? Sure. But does it mean that you have to be good enough to execute something? Probably not. And your ability to think through your negative beliefs by isolating what's not logical and apply what is more rational. In other words, you can see some progress. You can take some action. Even if it's not good, doesn't mean that it's always a bad thing. So by utilizing some forms of Socratic dialogue and questioning your limiting beliefs, it's more likely that you'll end up in a direction that is far more logical and far more palatable for you. Father of positive psychology Martin Seligman also suggested that the use of positive self-talk can be very enabling for an individual. The first thing is not just to put in self-talk that you don't believe. The first is to observe what kind of self-talk you do have. So if the content of your self-talk is already by itself negative and you're getting negative results, by rationality, all you need to do is tune down on those negative self-talk. In fact, in the studies of self-talk, one of the strategies is to have what we call instructional self-talk strategies. They are a part of a category known as strategic self-talk, which I mentioned in my video on self-talk, which is in my playlist. If you'd like to find out more, just subscribe and hit the bell notification icon so that you'll be able to get down to any other updates of my self-talk videos and personal mastery videos in the future. So once you're aware of the content of your internal dialogue, you can now decide what to lean towards and what to forego. So if I start saying to myself, that's a terrible thing, and I catch myself doing it, I can immediately say, what am I saying to myself? Let's focus on this. And then utilizing instructional dialogue. Why don't we do this first? Then we'll do that next. This is not a big deal. I can overcome it. Take for example, earlier on, I spent an entire 15 minutes not realizing that my microphone was down. And unfortunately, I had to redo my readings and record myself all over again. But this is something that's just nothing more than a factual occurrence. It has happened before and I know how to mitigate it because the mistake has already been done. Do I have to record everything all over again? If I had to, I'll just tell myself, okay, let's go back to square one. Let's reread all the research. What were the 5 points I needed to make? What do I have to do? And what do I have to check now? And I'll put myself into a positive state knowing that I have encountered this before and I have overcome it. So you'll notice that by engaging in my positive self-talk, I can eliminate the frustration of, I should have checked this, I shouldn't have done that, that was stupid of me. All that can go out the window. The last piece is something I enjoy most of all, is constructive mental imagery. Now, some of the research that has been done on this has been carried out many times. In a research paper by Fink in 1989, he highlighted that whenever you do a mental construction of an action that you're going to perform, it's a higher tendency and a higher significant tendency for the individual to be able to perform at a higher level than those who don't. Now, this is powerful because this alludes to athletic performance, it alludes to procedural tasks in the office, and if only you were to do that inside your mind first, you're far more likely to accomplish your tasks. Now, let me ask you, how many times do you actually construct your reality inside your mind? Or do you just cross your fingers and hope for the best? Hopefully, you're actually utilizing mental imagery to visualize successful performance. So some of you will be asking, how do I take the next set of actions inside my mind when I don't even know what I'm supposed to do? This happens a lot in business, doesn't it? Because there's so much uncertainty involved in it. So what I recommend for you to do is to do a mental simulation across the worst case, expected case, and best case scenarios. And if all of them are empty in your mind, what you ought to do is to go do some research. Bounce it off a coach or a mentor. Go out there and interview other successful entrepreneurs who might have encountered the similar problems that you are facing. Now, what's important, however, is not to get stuck in that discovery. The more important thing is to imagine what you might do whenever you do get stuck and what kind of contingencies you have planned for it. This way, whenever you have constructive visual imagery, it's not just daydreaming. So I hope this has been useful for you, and I hope that this has given you a little bit of impetus to really move the needle in any kind of thing that you do. After all, the ability for you to develop self-leadership is going to assist you in accomplishing not just goals, but higher levels of performance with time. If you learn this skill early, not only will you develop a higher level of self-confidence, you'll also be able to travel through things which are uncertain. And frankly speaking, the more experienced you are, whether in entrepreneurship, relationships, or any other thing, you're more likely to have this internal self-confidence that will get you to wherever it is that you need to go. So remember, these 3 key strategies in the categories of behavioral focused strategies, natural reward strategies, and constructive focused strategies. These 3 strategies will assist you in becoming a stronger self-leader so that not only will you be able to lead yourself, you'll also leave a shining example for your team to wish to follow. So if you like this, share it with all your friends, click on the like and subscribe button so that we can reach out to more people and elevate themselves from a level of suffering to a level where they can take actions for abundance.